from Minneapolis. You are listening to Doug Pagitt Radio. For more Doug Pagitt Radio fun, visit DougPagitt.com.
I was just flipped off by a silver-haired old lady with a honk if you love Jesus sticker on the bumper of her car.
Hey, welcome back to Doug Pagitt Radio. Our final segment today is a combo meal. Joined together, the cripes, come on, you've got to be kidding me, with the right on. So we're going to blend them right together.
Supersized
Well,
too?
you know, sometimes I make them two different segments altogether, and they're broken up because there's a need for both things, right? There's a need for the common lament. There's a need for the crying out to the world that is not the way it's supposed to be. The need to say, oh, cripes, and come on, and you've got to be kidding me, and let's have a world that's made of other things, and it doesn't have to be like this. I had that experience in Florida.
You did?
Yeah, when I came home, and I was like,
I can't imagine
you'd say to
you were
yourself,
criping
hey,
in
it doesn't have
Florida.
to be like this, people. No, when I came home.
Oh,
And I was like, there's another world over there. Not everybody has to do this. But we need that, right? That the human spirit has a need to declare that something is not as it's supposed to be. As my friend Tom likes to put it, it wasn't supposed to be like this. And there's times where we have to say that. And then there's times when it's just right. When it's just right on.
And I suppose if we put those two too close together, sometimes it feels like the right on feels like a platitude.
Yes, that it's
Sometimes you need some space.
You have to
lament.
You have to live in it. Yeah, you know, there's people who talk about the Christian tradition like that. They're like, there's a reason that Friday is in the Passion narrative, the death of Jesus narrative. That Friday is the cripes. Come on, you've got to be kidding me! My God, why have you forsaken me? Stuff, right? Like, it's as bad as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
And the right on doesn't come till Sunday.
Yeah, it's a long
Saturday is the most important day
It's very
of the whole thing.
Saturday.
If you don't Saturday, did you just recoin Saturday with a SADD?
I don't know.
Set that one weekend in April. In April, it's not, or March, I guess. Whenever that one Easter weekend, it's Saturday. Oh yeah, see that's only a good Norwegian accent could actually pick up the Saturday, you know. All right, so a couple of things that should make someone say cripes. Living in Minnesota, and I think you'd jump right in on this. When you get weeks like this where it's 13, 15 below, I mean, it just screams from your lungs via your cells when you walk outside, and it just hurts.
It's an asthma attack for me. I walk outside.
That's awesome.
And I have to have my inhaler in hand.
It's an asthma attack.
It is.
So cold. It's
my
an asthma.
lungs just go.
Yeah, it is just. I mean, honest to goodness. I mean, how could it be? All right, so just the sheer cold, which that doesn't happen here all the time.
No,
I don't want to but it does happen here all the time. Right? This is what's funny. It's not always like this, but every year. In fact, every year right about now, middle of January to the first weekend in February, you're up for some 48, 72-hour period of time.
Or it's usually bitterly cold.
It's just going to... And I think back to people 300, 500 years ago who lived here with the kind of technologies that were available. And I know you could kill an animal and climb inside of a skin.
But other than... I know.
I mean, seriously, how did people...
I don't know. I don't know.
And at least we know it's coming because it'll change from 38 degrees to 15 below in a day.
I know.
And at least we can see it coming, and you make arrangements for it. If you're living in a small nomadic tent community, and that wind starts howling across the lake, I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
I wonder what some of the native people's languages were for cripes, because you know they had a cripes in every language. Every language has a cripes. If you don't have a cripes, well, you're just not human.
That's true.
The come on is simply going to go out to printers, like a home printer. Why is it so hard to get printers to work? I mean, we have people living on a space station. You can broadcast a radio show from your house. We have solved huge inequities in our world. And you still can't hardly print every time, or it jams, something runs into it. I mean, honestly,
unbelievable.
What's happening in the printer industry? Come on, printer industry people.
I don't know.
Someone should call the Ferrera and tell her the HP woman and tell her to stop, babbling on about politics and give us a decent printer.
I still can't print at my house. I have to email it to my husband to print from his computer. I mean,
And some of it's an Apple thing. Some of it's an Apple computer thing. If you have an Apple, it's always even doubly harder. Like, really? You
Great.
people don't think, like, we're not quite yet in a paperless world. If I could just have a printer
I know.
that works.
If only.
If only. Like, we were in Memphis running this event, and I'm like, we have to have something printed. And the amount of, like, brain power and energy that had to go in. What are we going to do to print something? We can broadcast all over. We can move hundreds of people into action, but you want to put ink on a piece of paper. I mean, just
we can tattoo our bodies,
Gutenberg
for heaven's
would have
sakes.
a smirk on his face, like, oh, yeah, see?
You guys
it's really hard.
So all that.
really hard to pull all that off. All right, the You Got to Be Kidding Me goes out to Paul Ryan. I thought I was done with this guy. Honestly, I thought I was done. I thought I was done giving.
You thought it was over.
And then I heard Paul Ryan on in a response to people asking, "Hey, Mr. Ryan, what are you all thinking about what happened at the election? How does that influence the Republican Party?"
Mm-hmm.
You know what his answer was? And I'm going to play the audio for you in a minute. His answer was, well, we really should give them credit for the way they organized in their technology. That's what won. It's not that we have it's not that our message is a problem. It's not that people didn't reject the ideas. Mm-hmm. We just couldn't organize the way they could. So if we could get our ideas
with all our money
organized,
and all our focus groups and all our blah blah.
I'm like, you have got to be kidding. What it sounds like is all my Christian friends that I talk to in religious circles and the Christians who say, like, look, our message isn't the problem. We just need a different way to organize and a different way to get those ideas into people's minds so they'll see how good they are. Because the ideas are really right. We just have to distribute them to people. So here's Paul Ryan. This is why he gets the cripes. It's like 30 seconds wrong. Classic Paul Ryan.
I think it's closer than you think.
So sorry. The question someone asked him was, like, what do you think the meaning was of this election that was so one-sided? And he says, I think it's closer than you think. And then he goes on with this.
The big debate that revolves is, they really did a phenomenal job on technology and turnout. And they should get credit for that. I don't see this as a rejection of our principles. I think we need to do a better job of applying our principles to the problems of the day to show solutions to the country's biggest problems and how they relate in people's everyday lives.
There it is. It's not our principles. It's not our. We just couldn't organize. They totally out-organized us.
We shouldn't do a deep, fearless inventory. Like I'm a big advocate of deep, fearless inventories for everybody. I really am, because one of my biggest. Maybe I'll make one exception for you.
Yeah. Jeez, that's nothing but trouble.
I don't know that I want your
This is why churches have kept women quiet for all these years. They say stuff like that.
But I think that it's a pet peeve to me. Oh, it's beyond a pet peeve. It's a severe. I think it harms all of society when people won't take responsibility for themselves and their ideas, and they just always want to put it off on the other person. It's maddening. And I remember back in like college when Christians would write some paper about some very extreme conservative position, and they'd do badly on it, and they'd say, oh, because the teacher didn't agree with my and I remember one time reading an ex-boyfriend's paper, and I was like, this is just a bad paper. It's just badly written.
I see.
You deserved a D.
Yeah, and
it's not your argument. You shouldn't Christianize this or whatever.
Yes.
Put it off on the teacher is irresponsible. You didn't write a good paper.
So isn't it amazing? Like, here the president, the vice presidential candidate, so one of the standard bearers, I like this phrase, of the won't do the deep questioning of our principles. Right. Truly believes if people had heard us better, if they'd really heard how our principles, our ideas, would be connected to their lives, if we could have gotten our ideas to them at that level, then they would have realized our ideas are totally the right ones. Yeah. So we really got out hustled. We didn't get out ideaed.
Yeah.
And the level to which conservatism, and maybe it's not just conservatism, maybe other people do this
I think
as well,
it happens all over the
but
place.
But currently conservatism in religion and in politics continues to say that, just makes me say, you have got to be kidding me. Yeah. What is it going to take for someone to realize when they say, like, I think your idea isn't a very good one, and then someone says, well, I just don't think you're really hearing me about my idea.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what I can do to get through. I had this in a personal engagement this last week. So I'm like, I think I'm hearing what you're saying, and I've got to tell you, I just find it to be totally unhinged from what I think happened and what we should do.
Yeah.
And this person's like, I just think you're really not here. Like, no, sometimes you actually are hearing and you say no. And then when the guy comes back and says, well, if we could really connect those principles.
It's maddening.
It is maddening. It is. So that's why in this world we have to say cripes, because it gets so bitterly cold it crushes your lungs, and you have to say, you got to be kidding me, because we still can't figure out the printer thing in 2013. And you got to be kidding me, really?
One thing I'd like to say about it, though, is sometimes there is a disconnect. There often is a disconnect, especially with political people or people who are on stage, between what they say and what they really mean. We can't necessarily always trust that what a politician says is what they really mean. Oftentimes it's because they think that that's what people want them to say or hear. And so I don't know. In this case, I can't speak specifically.
You mean like don't personally blame a guy named Paul for saying that?
I'm not saying that.
I guess I'm not. I'm bothered by his by that argument that he's making at a Republican strategy meeting.
I agree.
Honest to goodness.
I'm just pointing out a broader point that sometimes people are maybe doing a deep, fearless inventory, but they're not. It's not reflected in what they say.
Okay, that's.
I just wanted to make that point in a general
now I'm
way.
just going to sound really petty. I have no care or concern if Paul Ryan is actually doing a fearless inventory about his own self. The fact that as the standard bearer at a press conference around that topic, talking about those things, that's what he said is it's even worse if he's doing a personal inventory. He's thinking, actually, I think our principles are way off. We have to rethink them, but I'm going to say this other thing. Now we've moved out of the cripes. Come on, you've got to be kidding me into another place. But there are some things in this world that should make us say right on. There's some things that we say, now there we go. That's how it ought to be. And the right on this week is going out to my friend Barry Taylor.
Yes.
Because a week ago, I heard Barry Taylor say 3 things that were so right on. I just want to hear them over and over and over again. So I wrote them. One of them was, be your beautiful selves. That's such a great line. Be your beautiful selves. Then he said this, the dogmas of the past are just the noise of other people's thinking.
Yes.
The dogmas of the past are just the noise of other people's thinking. And then he said, and you are called to have a voice and not an echo.
Yay!
You're not called to just
Amen,
echo
Barry.
other people's ideas. You're called to have a voice yourself. And I'm like, be your beautiful selves. The dogmas of the past are just the noise of other people's thinking. And you are called to have a voice and not just an echo. And I'm like, Barry Taylor?
Woohoo. Awesome.
Right on, my
He's
man.
An awesome fella.
Right on.
Awesome fella. We need more Barry Taylor.
We need more Barry Taylors. We need more right on. So all of you who are doing right on things, may your faith bring faith. May your hope bring hope. May your strength bring strength. And may your love bring love. Hey, we'll talk to you next week. We really will be back 2 weeks in a row. Doug Pagitt Radio. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you then.
Bye, folks.